Welcome to the Weather Insights Podcast. I'm meteorologist Scott Pitney, along with meteorologist Jeff Lindner. This is the evening edition for Tuesday, June 18th. Jeff, National Hurricane Center map looks pretty similar to what it did this morning. We've got that kind of strange to me red X in that yellow hatched area. And of course, we're talking about the potential tropical cyclone, the red X primarily right now, but that yellow hatched area, that's something potentially that could develop this weekend. If you're wondering why is one tropical system on top of another, well, that's a good question. Well, the yellow hatched area isn't there right now. It's potentially going to develop this weekend. In fact, they've increased the chances from 20 to 30%. So right now, National Hurricane Center and the discussions is saying it will probably act very similar to what we've got now, a very disorganized system. If it does form at all, we'll probably move it into Mexico. But again, we're focused on the red X, our PTC, which still is yet to have a name. And as we said all along, it really doesn't matter. What we're paying attention to is the wind field north of this thing, which is a large wind field. You can see that yellow area moving out there. But actually, we're already seeing tropical storm force winds, at least gusts, anywhere from Galveston all the way down the Texas coast, and that'll continue throughout the evening. And then this thing was basically stationary this morning. It's on the move. It's really got a full head of steam now, Jeff, 5 miles per hour, but it is on the move and is expected to make landfall sometime late Wednesday into Thursday. And now we're actually starting to see the rain on radar get a little bit closer to the Texas coast. It's already made its way into Louisiana. Most of this is light. You can see the light rain from the green shaded areas, the yellow shaded a little bit heavier rain. We're going to continue seeing that. And like we see with a lot of these tropical systems, it's very broken. So right now I'm looking at sunshine and we've been kind of seeing that all day. We've seen patchy rain showers moving in. We have seen a little bit of training. I noticed down around Angleton, they got a little bit of banding effect, maybe 1 or 2 inches earlier today. And we're going to see that gradually pick up as this big swath of rain starts to move into Southeast Texas later on this evening and on through the night and into tomorrow.
Yeah, and so again, like you kind of mentioned, we have this big sprawling circulation, if you will, if you can call it that, out here in the Gulf of Mexico. Still very well organized, disorganized. The reconnaissance aircraft was in here this afternoon. They could not find any consolidated area of low pressure, and we really, where the low kind of is in this area, we really don't have a lot of thunderstorm activity. Maybe just now starting to see some thunderstorms develop closer to the center. So this may be the start of maybe a little bit more consolidation and the transition towards more of a true tropical system. But what we've been dealing with and what we've been seeing approach the upper Texas coast today is all of this moisture and rain and showers and thunderstorms and squalls here south of the Louisiana coast. And so we still have a heavy rainfall threat. Again, this has been shifting south and west pretty much every model run. So if we go back to Friday and what we were looking at, heavy rain along the Louisiana coast. Saturday, Sunday, we were thinking heavy rain here in southeast Texas. And then yesterday and today, this has continued to shift down to the south and west. And so now we're looking at the kind of the bigger rains, if you will, down around the Corpus Christi and Brownsville area down into Mexico. And of course, here, this is very mountainous in northeast Mexico. So all this tropical moisture coming in from the Gulf, running into those mountains and higher terrain is really going to potentially produce a lot of rain and flash flooding in northeast Mexico. But you can see, we've been talking about this all week, a very strong gradient on the north side of this between several inches of rain, for example, down along the mid-Texas coast, and virtually no rain when you get up towards the Huntsville, Livingston area. And so unfortunately, we have seen this shift to the south some. So folks around the Austin and San Antonio areas where we were looking for potentially beneficial rains, even yesterday, has kind of trended downward. And yeah, we could still get some rain up there, but to make a difference in the drought and the water supply issues we're seeing, this unfortunately doesn't look at the moment to be the case, and it's unlikely that we will see any of this heavy rain shift back to the north. So we're kind of honing in now on that south central coastal bend, southern Texas area for rains, and this area could use the rain too. So not totally completely unbeneficial. And even around the Corpus area, we could get some 8-10 inches. In the urban areas, you could see some flooding.
Yeah.
The other thing is
In
that
fact, the flash flood watch that was supposed to go in effect at 7 o'clock tonight for Harris County has now been canceled.
yeah. For it still remains in place to the south and west. So Galveston County, Fort Bend, an area south of that is still under the flood watch. We still do have some concerns with the tides. We have had a little bit of coastal flooding today, especially down around the west end of Galveston Island, Treasure Island, Quintana Beach, down in the Surfside area, Brazoria County, also up in southeast Harris County around Taylor Lake Village, and also Seabrook. We've had some minor coastal flooding. We're starting to go into that high tide tonight, so we're starting that increasing trend now, and we will see a peak high tide on Wednesday morning around sunrise. And so we do anticipate probably another 1 to 2 feet higher than what we saw this morning along the beach front. And again, there's wave action with that and everything else. So we do expect some issues down on the coast. We still have the coastal flood warning for the entire upper Texas coast, and that extends down towards Matagorda Bay now. We do expect some overwash. We do expect, water to go under elevated homes in some of these areas. And so this is going to be probably some of the bigger story we get is this coastal flooding that comes with this. And it's really going to continue into the day tomorrow. So even though the tide begins to go out in our tide cycle, that onshore wind and the push of the water up towards the coast is going to keep these tides elevated through much of the day tomorrow. Tomorrow night, Wednesday night into Thursday, we do get improvement. We'll probably fall below that coastal flood warning. So that coastal flood warning goes until Thursday morning at 7 a.m. And we expect to at least have some issues tomorrow morning. It's still kind of questionable on the ferries. The Lynchburg ferry is probably going to be a no-go tomorrow. The Bolivar Galveston ferry, we'll just see two issues there. One is sort of the wave action that comes in the channel. The second, if the tides get too high, the ferry's not able to dock at the landings. And so at times of high tide, they could have some issues at the ferry landings. And then lastly, just kind of looking at the wind field here, the winds have been a little gusty today. We have seen some gust at the offshore buoy, buoy 19 south of Freeport, up around 40-45 miles an hour. I think they're pushing 11-foot seas now at buoy 19. And then also some of the oil platforms out here in the northwestern Gulf of Mexico have been gusting up 40-50 miles an hour. Of course, those are elevated up in the air. And this is the forecast going into the next 24 hours. So kind of focusing on that northern edge of the circulation here, that tropical storm force wind within the tropical storm warning area, 40 to 50 mile an hour winds here from Kingsville and Corpus Christi up towards Rockport and Port Aransas, maybe getting up towards the Port O'Connor, Matagorda Bay area. And we could even see some of those gusts even up towards Galveston Island. I think, those are going to be less frequent further up the coast. But we could still see some gusty winds into these areas, especially with the squalls. If we get some squalls moving through, wouldn't be surprised at all to see 50 mile an hour wind gusts with some of these squalls along the coast. But generally speaking, the forecast has trended better for a lot of Southeast Texas today. That's why we always, tell folks to pay attention to the forecast. It can trend, as we saw over the weekend, towards a worst case scenario or a more impactful scenario. And then other times the forecast can trend in a more positive direction. And that's what we've seen today for a lot of the area.
Jeff, thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining. Just a reminder to subscribe to the Weather Insights YouTube channel. Subscribe and share so your family and friends can stay in touch with the latest on the tropics. And join us on the next Weather Insights podcast.